the 26,000 people of East Hempfield Township. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the House of Representatives, citation. Whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in recognizing those citizens who selflessly devote their lives to ensuring the safety of the residents of their communities and ultimately of all the people of this great Commonwealth. And whereas Officer John Charles Schmidtke is being honored upon his retirement after 25 years of dedicated and distinguished service to the East Hempfield Township Police Department. And whereas Officer Schmidtke faithfully displayed great loyalty, commitment, and professionalism in the performance of his duties as a member of the East Hempfield Township Police Department since his enlistment. To his great credit, he received 6 unit citations and 1 merit award for his exemplary service. Officer Schmidtke served with consummate skill, upheld the laws of this Commonwealth, and served as a role model for all those who aspire to a career in law enforcement. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pays a respectful tribute to Officer John Charles Schmidtke upon his richly deserved retirement and notes with pride and gratitude his record of service, which far exceeds those standards normally ascribed as exemplary. Offers best wishes for every future success and happiness, and directs that a copy of this citation sponsored by the Honorable Brett R. Miller on December 17th, 2024, be transmitted to Officer John Charles Schmidtke. So once again, on behalf of the 13 million people of Pennsylvania, the 64,000 people of the 41st District, and the 26,000 people of East Hempfield, we say congratulations and job well done.
Whereas Officer John C. Schmidtke has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to serving the citizens of East Hempfield Township, and whereas Officer Schmidtke began his distinguished career service with East Hempfield Township Police Department on January 3rd, 2000, and throughout his 25 years of dedicated service, he has exemplified the values, ethics, and professionalism that have shaped the department into the esteemed organization it is today. Whereas Officer Schmidtke's leadership, dedication, tireless efforts have earned him respect and admiration of both his colleagues, community, serving as a model of integrity and selflessness. And whereas Officer Schmidtke has been the receipt of 6 unit citations, 1 merit award, further acknowledging his exceptional contributions to the department and community throughout his distinguished career, now therefore it be resolved that the Board of Supervisors of East Hempfield Township, on behalf of the residents of East Hempfield Township, hereby extends its highest commendation and sincere gratitude to Officer Schmidtke for his outstanding service, unwavering commitment to the betterment of East Hempfield Township, and be it further resolved that this resolution be made permanent part of the official records of East Hempfield Township, with a copy being presented to Officer Schmidtke upon his retirement, February 6, 2025.
Her voice is shot. Chuck, thank you for your dedication to the township and to the police department. Your sense of humor, your easygoing personality, and ability to bring calmness to situations with your presence will greatly be missed. You are a man of few words, but when you speak, people listen. 25 years went by quickly. We hope the next chapter brings you joy in traveling, supporting your sons, winemaking, and that your wife keeps you busy with a honey to-do list. Thank you for all that you've done.
Next, we will recognize Sergeant Anthony Lombardo.
I want to hearken back to something Ed Lefevre said here at the start about the Marines and others who stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima many years ago. We understand the concept that freedom is not free. And the officers that we have represented here and those receiving the citations and the others who've come to witness this, when we have an orderly society like what we have, we're blessed to have here in East Hempfield, it's not free. And to all the officers here, I just want to personally say thanks. I think Ed would echo that as well. We appreciate your service. And now, Sergeant Lombardo, it's your turn. So the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the House of Representatives, a citation. Whereas the House of Representatives of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in recognizing those individuals who selflessly devote their lives to ensuring the safety of the residents of their communities and ultimately of all the people of this great Commonwealth. I want to emphasize the word selflessly to Officer Schmidtke as well and all the folks here. And whereas Sergeant Anthony Lombardo is being honored upon his February 2025 retirement after 26 years of dedicated and distinguished service to the East Hempfield Township Police Department. And whereas Sergeant Lombardo began his career with the East Hempfield Township Police Department in January 1999 and has served as an accident reconstructionist and accreditation manager. To his great credit, he has received 9 unit citations and 2 first aid awards. Sergeant Lombardo faithfully displayed great loyalty, commitment, and professionalism in the performance of his duties as a member of the East Hempfield Township Police Department since his enlistment. He served with consummate skill, upheld the laws of this Commonwealth, and served as a role model for all those who aspire to a career in law enforcement. Now, therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pays a respectful tribute to Sergeant Anthony J. Lombardo upon his richly deserved retirement, notes with pride and gratitude his record of service, which far exceeds those standards normally ascribed as exemplary, offers best wishes for every future success and happiness, and directs that a copy of this citation, sponsored by the Honorable Brett R. Miller on December 18th, 2024, be transmitted to Sergeant Anthony J. Lombardo. I signed, the Speaker of the House signed, and the Chief Clerk signed. And so on behalf of the 13 million people of Pennsylvania, the 64,000 people of the 41st District, and the 26,000 people of East Hempfield, we say congratulations, job well done, and thank you.
Sergeant Lombardo, whereas Sergeant Anthony J. Lombardo has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to serving the citizens of East Hempfield Township, and whereas Sergeant Lombardo began his distinguished career with East Hempfield Township Police Department on January 18, 1999, and whereas over his 26-year tenure, Sergeant Lombardo has instilled core values, ethics, and integrity in each officer serving the department, playing an integral role in shaping East Hempfield Township Police Department into what it is today. And whereas, through his selfless dedication to community, Sergeant Lombardo has set a remarkable example for others to follow, earning the respect and admiration of his peers. And whereas Sergeant Lombardo entered his role with a clear vision and has successfully achieved many of his goals, receiving numerous accolades, including 2 first aid awards, 9 unit citations, and serving as an accident reconstructionist and accreditation manager. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of East Hempfield Township, on behalf of the residents of the township, hereby express its deep appreciation and gratitude to Sergeant Anthony Lombardo for his extraordinary dedication and contributions to the betterment of East Hempfield Township. And be it further resolved that this resolution be incorporated into the permanent records of East Hempfield Township, with a copy presented to Sergeant Lombardo in recognition of his retirement on February 14th, 2025. Just hit me, that was Valentine's Day. That was a heck of a present.
Tony, thank you for your dedication to the department and profession. Your drive, work ethic, and passion for the job have been nothing short of admirable. Your skill sets in traffic safety, from mix-up to crash, and all the techie matters have never been taken for granted. Enjoy time with friends, golfing, flying, teaching, and whatever adventures life tosses your way. 26 years has flown by. No pun intended. Thank you.
Could I have Officer Schmidtke and Sergeant Lombardo, Chief, would you and all of your family join us up front here for a picture? Because really the family deserves the award as much as they do. Sorry. And before you guys leave, I think some of the board members wanted to say a few words. Mr. Bennett.
Okay. Okay, well, there's not much more to say than already has been said. I guess I would say to Officer Schmidtke and Sergeant Lombardo, I wish you good luck in your future, in your retirement, and congratulations. You two individuals, I believe, along with everyone wearing the badge in this room, represent the very best that law enforcement has to offer our community. And for that, we are very appreciative and proud of the service that you provide. Thank you, and again, good luck.
Uh, y- Yes, Officer Schmidtke, I don't know if you recall, I had a half-hour conversation with you about a year ago. No? In the parking lot of Hempfield Church of the Brethren. So, yeah, and you taught me a lot of stuff in that half hour, so it was nice meeting you. I don't think I've talked to, is it Sergeant Lombardo? I think one time at an event at the police station, but it was nice knowing you for a short time, and thank you very much for everything you did for the community.
And gentlemen, I would say 25 and 26 years, that's a great run. Steadfast commitment to our community, and just thank you. And thank you to everyone that's here tonight in the department. You guys do a great job, and we're very appreciative. Thank you.
Mr. Brubaker.
Mr. Brubaker?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I would just echo, the previous comments. Just thank you very much for your service, and we appreciate everything that you did, and all the best in your retirement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
We'll give it a minute, and then we're going to resume our agenda.
Yeah.
Up next, we have our consent agenda. The consent agenda are typically routine items which require very little debate or discussion. Is there any comment from the board on the consent agenda?
I'll be abstaining for part of it.
Anything else?
Good.
No.
Hearing none,
No.
is there a motion to approve consent agenda items A through C as presented on the agenda?
So moved.
I'm sorry.
So moved.
Motion from, was that
Russell.
Mr. Russell? Second from, was it Mr. Brubaker? Or was it?
Bennett.
It was Mr.
No.
Bennett. Okay, second from Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Up next, the motion to approve consent agenda items D, invoices as presented. Mr. Russell will be abstaining. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with the people that voted for this, the first motion should be A through E per the agenda, and the second motion should be item F. Apparently, items were added.
Thank you for that correction.
And then we also need motions on the resolutions for the two officers.
Okay. So the first motion, I believe we need to amend that now to be motion to approve the consent agenda items A through E and not C. Mr. Russell, you made that motion. Are you okay with the amendment there?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Bennett, you seconded. Are you
Yes.
okay?
I'm good.
Okay. We'll take a vote again. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the second motion that we're going to amend is to approve consent agenda item F instead of E, invoices as presented. Mr. Russell is abstaining. I think the motion was made by Mr. Bennett. Are you okay with that amendment?
Yes, I'm okay with changing it.
Yep. And
C is correct. No,
no, it's going
F.
to be changed to F.
right, there we go.
Yes.
Now we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Brubaker, you seconded that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
Thank
All
you.
those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 My bad.
Any-
I'm abstaining.
Right. Opposed? None. Mr. Russell abstains, so the motion passes 4-0 with Mr. Russell abstaining. Okay. And next, we're going to, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2025-5, recognizing years of service for Officer John Schmidtke?
So moved?
A motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. We're going to give the second to Mr. Johnson. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Up next, Resolution 2504, motion to approve Resolution 2504, recognizing years of service for Sergeant Anthony Lombardo. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion for Mr. Brubaker, second from Mr. Russell. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Up next, we have our action items. We're going to start with 79 Elmwood Avenue, final plan.
Yes, good evening. Cheryl Love with the LA Group, and Dawson Lohr with Thomas Trading is here tonight as well. This project is a pretty small project. You'll see the dark gray shading on that plan. That's a building addition. The property in total itself is just under 1 acre. It's 100% impervious. The site is 79 Elmwood Avenue. Elmwood Avenue ends right at the lower right-hand corner of that property. The private street out to the left is, they have rights of use of that in their deeds in perpetuity, but that is a 50-foot private road. It's also fully paved. The business that they have is basically storage and repackaging of some palletized dry goods, foods, and they just need more space. They're leasing a site off-site. They want to consolidate here. There is a portion not shown on this plan, but at the back of the building that would be demolished, and then this addition at the rear of the building would basically be to expand their storage space. 8 to 10 employees currently. They would continue with same number of employees, so it's a pretty small, compact little business. We would have 2 loading docks on the left side of that plan, or the west side, and 1 on the east side. And then the parking for employees and whatnot would be on the lower southern portion of the plan there. We would be adding an island right by where the cursor is there with a tree at the end of that row. And then there is a crosshatch on the far left side. There'd be a hedge of landscaping trees that are fully screening that edge. So that's also additional taking away of impervious in that space. There is no real stormwater management on the current site. We are meeting majority of the stormwater requirements, so we are improving the situation and the site in and of itself. We have addressed all technical comments. We'd had previously received some zoning approvals as well. So really, we are are simply here with some modifications and, requesting a final plan approval. We did receive recommendations from the Planning Commission last Wednesday evening as well. So I could run down through each modification if that is preferred, or pause for questions if you have any first.
Could you don't have to read the modifications and waivers verbatim, but could you just highlight them?
Summarize them?
Yep.
Sure. Basically, this site is very unique in the way it sits. So they basically would be behind the row of parking. Normally, there would be a 20-foot access aisle where at I think 17 feet 6 inches of space available, but there's 50 feet of additional pavement they have the right to use behind that. So we can't meet the full 20-foot access aisle. That island I spoke of to the right is 1 foot short of the full 8'6" width, so we're 7'6", certainly adequate for a tree. It's just the space that we have available and the way the truck movements are, we can't quite get the full 8.5 feet in there. Some of the others relate to not providing sidewalk curbs. Just given the unique space of where they are, it really makes no sense, and they don't serve customers really in any way. So those would be of no use for this specific site, and it's also relates to a private road out front. So I think those are the highlights. There is one that relates to stormwater volume. We are removing, like I said, over 1,000 square feet of impervious that we are making as permeable green space. And we are oversizing stormwater pipes. Stormwater storage is all underground on some piping systems in there. And I think DMA was also supportive of each of these modification waivers, as was the Planning Commission. Those kind of hit the highlights for you.
Are there any questions from the board?
Just a comment, in your opening statement, did you say the site is 100% impervious?
100% impervious.
But you
right
are
now.
taking out the
Yes.
impervious?
We are removing 1,016 square feet of impervious to make it permeable through that island with the tree and also the landscape bed down the left side. So we are increasing green space versus there's zero out there right
And
now.
improving the stormwater management a
Exactly.
bit?
Yeah, that helps as
Gotcha.
well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Russell?
No comments. Good
No.
project.
Mr. Brubaker, did you have anything?
No questions other than I just appreciated, the explanation of, this site, and I understand there are some challenges with meeting some of the current requirements, but I think it was well explained as to what trade-offs were being provided in order to accommodate and make it actually better than what it is now. So I just wanted to comment that I thought it was a good job in explaining that kind of somewhat convoluted situation. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience reference to this project? Okay. Seeing, hearing none. Any on Zoom? Okay. So any discussion on the board regarding this? Okay.
Just
seeing-
appreciate the improvement to that site. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, so with that, is there a motion to approve modification and waiver requests 1 through 5 for the 79 Elmwood Final Plan Project, subject to all staff and engineering comments?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the final land development plan for the 79 Elmwood Project, Township File 24702, subject to all staff and engineering comments?
So move.
Motion for Mr. Russell. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second for Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Final Plan Records Destruction Resolution 2506.
This is a resolution we typically do a few throughout the year. This one in particular authorizes the destruction of several records from the police department, from personnel records, and also finance records 2014 through 2017.
Any questions or discussion from the board on this?
This is for the public's benefit, is a routine record destruction that
Yes,
we need to do to update or keep our records current.
yes.
Hearing none from the board, any questions or comments from the audience? Any from Zoom? Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 25-06, designating records for destruction?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Russell, second from Mr. Johnson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Up next, we have Easy Pay Banking Initiative.
I'll turn that one over to Mrs. Johnson.
We have,
Mrs. Johnson, you'll have to talk into the microphone.
always forget about that. We have been contacted the bank, First National Bank, and they have a program that they will make our accounts payable payments for us. And with that, they will take over all of the protection of doing the positive pay, as well as trying to do as many ACH payments and virtual credit card payments as possible, which increases the timeline for our vendors to receive their payments, as well as making them much more secure. Currently, we make about 2,100 payments a year. And our current platform, with sending checks, we do just under 2,000 checks a year. Each one of those requires time to print, supplies to print, as well as postage to mail. So with this, we are hoping to decrease the number of payments that have to be sent by check and increase the number that can be done by ACH and as well as virtual card payment. With this program, they have a very hard push to use virtual credit cards, and there is a cost to all of the fee or all of the options. However, with the push that they make for the Easy Pay or Easy Card credit cards as payment to our vendors, we get a 1% rebate for that. So the initial costs will be decreased by hopefully as much as possible, with them getting more and more vendors to accept the card payments or the ACH payments. Because if the ACH payments, as you saw on the sheet that I gave you, the ACH payments, the transaction fee is less than the postage it is to mail a current check. So it will be time saving as well as eventually cost saving to incorporate this program. One of the issues that was discussed with the Finance Committee is the security and the board approval. The way we would like to go forward with that is have one of the current signers on the board have the accounts or have the invoices reviewed ahead of time before the board approval so that they can look at that, they can sign the reports and have that verified, and then have the board approve the invoices as you typically do in a month. So we would not send any information to the bank for payment until after the board has approved that. So that process would continue as it has been. Any additional questions?
Well, this was the Finance Committee reviewed this, and we are recommending it. We also asked the staff to do exactly what Jenna said, which is to come up with a new way of approving the bills, and that's actually a pretty common, a lot of the other municipalities, actually most of the municipalities now have gone away from the two signature, and they usually have either a designated township secretary or treasurer or the board chair sign the reports, the treasurer's reports ahead of time. And then the board just takes action on that. So that's the checks and balances where you're going to get a list, whoever is the chair or if the vice chair takes that role on for any given month. You would have to just review the checks ahead of time. And usually the manager would be the other person that signs the document. There's two signatures, just like before, except now you're signing the treasurer's report versus signing the checks in the process. And it does get us up to the 21st century, as most places now are looking to get away from the paper checks anymore.
Is there any kind of oversight as far as the vendors that we're paying it and what they charge to receive a credit card payment or an ACH payment?
The way that the bank explained it to me is that if there are charges involved, typically there's not an ACH charge, but there could be a charge for the credit card. And if there is a charge for the credit card, then they would not go forward with that option. They would try to then push the ACH. If they refused both the virtual credit card and the ACH, if they claim that there's fees or there's a reason why they're not able to do that, then they would just go back to a check
Okay.
payment as they are currently, but that check would be created and mailed by the bank.
That would be my only concern with this, is that we do write some fairly large checks and a 2% or 3% convenience fee to pay by credit card that some vendors do charge.
Any vendors that would charge a fee, we would not use the virtual card. It would then go to an ACH, and typically, they want their money as fast as possible, so there's typically not ACH fees involved.
To be honest with you, it's not big, like Bowman, my company, with all the municipal work we do almost all of it by ACH. We don't do credit card.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty common. It's actually the preferred way of getting paid, and you get paid instantly once it occurs.
Most payments will be ACH. I mean, this is a process that our bank, FNB, they've used it for a while. Their experience with it, might be new for us, but at the end of the day, it'll be a cost savings. It'll be more efficient for us. Will we ever get away from issuing at least one check? We'll probably have to do that at some point, but this, generally will make the whole process better and more efficient. So that's what we recommended in our finance committee.
Question. What would the scenario be where the vendor would request a credit card payment as opposed to ACH?
With the credit card payment, what they do is they create a virtual credit card. They can do numerous virtual credit cards. So for example, we make a lot of payments to PP&L. We have several accounts that are paid through PP&L. So we can have within the township and also within the general fund and the liquid fuels fund, each can have their own virtual credit card, so that then any payments that are made to PP&L, for example, would go through that virtual credit card, and then that would clear the bank as if it were a normal check or an ACH payment. So we would still have the backing from the bank to show each specific payment. It would just go as a virtual credit card, and then we would receive 1% rebate or refund for every dollar that is spent. We get 1% of all of the amount that's charged with the virtual credit cards.
But in that scenario, the vendor is requesting a credit card payment as opposed to ACH. You're saying as a way to segregate it?
They can do, we can do either.
We can do either. But
Yes, it's what the bank does is they kind of do a push to have as many people go onto the virtual credit cards as possible. Because with that, they receive a portion of the fees that are charged. And because they receive a portion of it, we get our 1% back as well. So if the company just says no, if we've got smaller companies that don't want to have the charge for the virtual credit card, then the next step is they would go to the ACH payment. Because typically most banks don't charge for an ACH payment. So we do the virtual credit card first because it's advantageous for the bank as well as the township. If the vendor says, no, we're not taking a credit card because we don't want to pay the fees, or they say, we'll take it, but you have to pay the fees, we kind of cross that off the list, and then we go down to the next, which is an ACH payment. If the ACH payment is not willing to be accepted, then it goes back to just, they would get a check as they normally would.
So example, Bob, would be like a PP&L bill. Usually the bills that you would normally pay with a credit card would be the same ones the township pay. Consultants, contractors, none of them are going to do credit card. They're not going to accept a 4% fee. There'll be ACH with those. So it's kind of just like how you would normally pay your bills too. A lot of the vendors you use now do credit card, and they built credit card fee like BPNL into their pay system, and then some of them don't. You know, so like some of my vendors, like my family, we pay by direct deposit from our checking account now, so. But I would picture that the PPLs of the world will take credit card, the contractors and consultants will take ACH.
Mhm. Okay, I'm just thinking of my personal professional experience, like with the company that I do work part-time for now, it's just the two options. It's just check or ACH. So this, the credit card option for a typical accounts payable transaction isn't one I'm used to seeing, but I mean, I certainly understand credit
It is
cards.
going to be quite a bit less than the ACH. I mean, most companies are willing to take an ACH. A lot of them won't take the virtual credit card, but it is what the initial push is for because we get the rebate for the fees. But if we do an ACH as opposed to a check, the total cost for an ACH payment, does have a transaction fee of 50 cents. But if you think that that's, you know, just the postage in that is 20 some odd cents less per check that we would send. So there is a financial benefit for that as well.
And I would also suggest that we could require our vendors to do ACH. We don't want to be that hard-nosed about it, but there are a lot of companies out there that's what they want to use. And that'll be 95% of what we do anyway. So it's a good program.
Mr. Brubaker, did you have any questions?
No, I'm somewhat familiar with that process as well, so I'm in agreement. I think this is a good way forward.
Any questions or comments from the audience on this? Any from Zoom?
Just think, Mr. Miller, when you were hand signing all those checks in the past, and you could have just signed the bottom of a form one time. Yep.
Got a question for Cindy or Jenna. Recreation Authority, we're going to process Recreation Authority the same way? No checks?
I would assume so.
It's going to be on the agenda for the next meeting as well.
Well,
So
okay,
that
so-
we'll
so we'll put it-
discuss it
we'll
at their
put it on-
meeting as well, but
Okay.
it's all going to be done the same way.
Okay,
If
so we'll have that on the
both
next agenda.
approve.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, with that, is there a motion to authorize staff to initiate Easy Pay banking with First National Bank?
So moved?
Motion from Mr. Bennett, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Russell. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Up next, Amos Herr Park fencing.
We had a short discussion about this last time and as part of just a discussionary topic. But what we are proposing to do is put about 2,000 feet of right-of-way type of fence on the east side of Amos Herr property along the Amtrak line, as well as no trespassing signage at a cost not to exceed $5,000.
Any discussion from the board on this?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
No, I was just
Oh.
agreeing that I don't have any questions.
Yeah, just let me bring up something I've been struggling with this week. I think the fence, I'm willing to go for it, but it just when I look at, the picture that we used last week, I don't know if anybody can see that, but it just kind of, it's not very attractive, and it has like long, pointy posts. Just wanted to bring up if anybody else was interested in pursuing this in a different way, like, I know it would cost more money, but like a different type of fence. If I'm the only one, then I'm the only one. But I just feel like it could be a maintenance issue, or a child could climb on it and get injured on that, which would be counterproductive. So just want to see if anybody else was interested in that or not.
I would say for me right now, with where we are financially, I'm not interested in spending more money. I think we're really going to have a tight fiscal year. having discussions about a possible tax increase at the end of the year. I'm not inclined to incur another cost. Now, whether we want to do it or not, that's fine, whether it makes sense. It is, I believe, out of the way where it's going to be located. So, I mean, I'm okay with the fence. That's just my take.
I had indicated to a couple of you that I'm not even sure I'm in favor of a fence, period. We really, historically, there hasn't been much of an issue with this, but I'll, in the interest of, trying to do the right thing, perhaps, I'm okay with it, with this type of fencing and this expense, but I don't think we should be going overboard. People know the tracks are there. They should be staying away from it. Again, we've had very few fatalities there over the last 50 years that I've lived in this township. We've had a couple, one having to do with a railroad crossing that ultimately was closed. But other than that, this incident and another one back in the 70s are the only other incidents I can recall. So I'm okay with this fence. It's sort of the minimum that I think we should be using, and that's my thought.
I would be the same because a chain link fence would probably be a 10 to 20-fold increased cost easily. I mean, I had priced out fencing years ago for just going around pools. We're looking at $20,000, $30,000 just for fencing around pools, for municipal pools. So I can only imagine what 2,000 feet would cost. And if, quite frankly, when the areas where Amtrak actually does put up their type of fencing, it's the same thing that we're talking about doing right now. It's really what it really should be Amtrak putting this stuff up, but they just don't do that kind of stuff for the most part.
So if I'm hearing everybody, I don't think there's a desire to exceed the cost that we have set. I mean, just with the nod of heads, are we in favor of moving forward with this fence?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and based on everyone's comments, I feel good that I brought it up, but I'm going to vote along with buying the fence.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion from the board on this? Okay. Any from the audience? Yes, sir, if you could please come to the microphone.
Hi there. My name is Brian Rhodes. I live 257 Main Street in Landisville, Pennsylvania. I used to be the fire chief here in the township back years ago. And the big thing I'm worried about is access to that land. Back years ago, we used to have we had a rash of brush fires right there between 283 and that area there. And I'd be worried about getting access to those brush fires. Number one, because I was fire chief. Number two, because I'm Department of Conservation, Natural Resources, Forest Fire Warden. So that's a big thing I'd be worried about, access to get in that area. I don't know if the chief had any thoughts on that. That's in that position right now.
The overpass, the underpass is not being fenced. It's still going to remain there. And that's really the only way you can get in and out.
Yeah,
It's too steep to go up and over the tracks.
Yeah, the fires that were started in that area the last time, we had several of them, and there's like areas of potholes in that area where kids were digging, were sitting in there, and they started fires in those areas. So
yeah,
that's the big thing I'd be worried about, access to getting into those locations.
Yeah, we've not closed off the underpass. There's no way we could because that's a stormwater. That's for stormwater, and most of the time it's wet underneath there anyways. We just put no trespassing signs at that location. We did have reports of sports teams and others that were crossing underneath and sometimes crossing over that we're trying to also discourage too, that we're aware of. So
that's just my worries about access to getting fire apparatus back there, so access. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's none from Zoom, but if I could make one clarification, just due to the number of rumors that have surrounded the most recent Amtrak incident, that incident was not a fatality. So Mr. Bennett specifically mentioned fatalities. I just want to ensure we're clear that the most recent incident was not a fatality.
Thank you.
Okay, well, with all of that, and we're going to ensure that there's access, my understanding, right, from our conversations back there, so that's not going to be an issue for us. And thank you for bringing it up. Do I hear a motion to authorize staff to install no trespassing signage as well as approximately 2,000 feet of right-of-way fencing along the southern border of the Amos Her property?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Russell, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, second from Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Up next, we have retiring of service weapon for Sergeant Anthony Lombardo, Resolution 2025-07. Chief?
She's got a little bit of a throat issue, so I'll
Okay.
speak for her. So both E and F, retiring service weapons for Anthony Lombardo and John Schmidtke. It's something that the township had begun in the past. It's been done for retiring officers. It's their choice if they desire to have their service weapon, and it's looked at as a gift from the township.
Okay.
But because of the transfer requirements, we do have to do a resolution.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board on this?
No, well heard.
No? Okay. How about from the audience? Okay, Zoom. All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-07, recognizing the retirement of Sergeant Anthony Lombardo's service weapon?
So moved.
Okay. Motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Second for Mr. Johnson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-08, recognizing the retirement of Officer John Schmidtke's service weapon?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Russell. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second for Mr. Johnson. All of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Up next, police hiring.
So we have an anticipated disability retirement of a police officer. It's likely going to occur in March. And what we'd like to do is get authorization to begin the hiring process for that replacement. This officer either will be Act 120 certified, or he or she would have to attend the academy starting in July. This was reviewed by the Public Safety Commission group, and they are in favor of moving forward with this to keep our force up to speed.
Any comments, questions?
So this has nothing to do with the retirement, correct?
These retirements, no.
Okay. We have three, I think we swore in three officers here about 4 or 5 months back,
We have 3 officers currently in training
right?
for another few months, and then we have 1 officer currently in the academy.
And those, the people in process now are accounted for in terms of manpower.
Go ahead.
Yeah, those are the two retirements, as well as the SRO position and the 4th detective that was approved for the 2025 budget. So the medical disability is another vacancy that we're going to
Something
have.
new. Okay, thank you, Chief.
Any other questions or comments?
None.
Mr. Brubaker?
None.
Any questions or comments from the audience on this? Okay. Zoom? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize Chief Brubaker to move forward with the hiring process to replace 1 officer due to an anticipated disability retirement?
So moved.
Okay. Motion for Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Up next, we have the retirement of Ricky Winter from the golf course maintenance crew, 22 years of service, Resolution 2025-09.
Mr. Winter is retiring. He retired he'll be retiring as of the end of February. He has served the township in the form of a golf course maintenance for the past 22 years. Very valued employee.
Love the name for a golfer. I'm going to read the resolution. Recognition of Ricky Winter, Resolution 2509. Whereas Ricky Winter has demonstrated a strong commitment to serving the citizens of East Hempfield Township, Lancaster County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And whereas Ricky began his tenure with the maintenance team at Four Seasons Golf Course on February 18, 2003, and over his 22-year tenure, he has consistently provided steady and valuable contributions to the grounds crew at Four Seasons Golf Course. And whereas, in recognition of his dedication and exceptional service, Ricky Winter is celebrated for his years of committed work to both the township and its community. And whereas, Ricky has earned the deep respect and appreciation of his coworkers, the Board of Supervisors, and the residents of East Hempfield Township. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of East Hempfield Township, acting on behalf of its residents, that we extend our heartfelt gratitude to Ricky Winter for his unwavering dedication and service to Four Seasons Golf Course in East Hempfield Township. And be it further resolved that this resolution will be entered to the permanent records of East Hempfield Township with a copy to be provided to Mr. Winter on his retirement effective February 28th, 2025.
So moved.
Okay. So motion to adopt Resolution 2025-09, recognizing Mr. Winter's 22 years of service to the township by Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Hempfield Area Recreation Commission property lease renewal for an additional 25 years.
So the township owns the Hempfield Area Rec Commission property at the corner of Stony Battery and Church. There is a lease agreement that is 25 years old as of July with the commission and the township, that the commission would manage and operate the facility. We worked with the members of the Hempfield Commission as well as the Park and Rec Group to come up with a lease that identified and addressed concerns of the commission as well as the Park and Recreation Group. The main differences in the current expiring agreement and this one is that the commission will have the first right of refusal should the township decide to sell the property, and they were also given the first right of offer should the township decide to sell. There is no discussion about selling the property, but this is something that was important to the commission moving forward since they plan to have some significant capital improvements to the property. In addition, the expiration date or the termination date was currently 18 months, and that has been extended to 4 years unless both parties agree.
So I think this is a good thing, and I just want to commend the Rec Commission and their staff. I just think they've done an outstanding job, and it's just to look back and see from when I first came on the board to where they are now financially, it truly is amazing. They put their nose to the grindstone and did a lot of good work. So I'm in favor of this.
Absolutely. The Hempfield Area Recreation provides a valuable resource, is a valuable resource to the community and provides valuable recreation service for us. And I'm glad we could finally come to an agreement on the terms of the contract.
I'll echo what Mr. Wigglesworth said, because 10 years ago, when we had a similar discussion with the rec authority, it's a night and day with what it is today at this point, with financial management and turning the ship around. It was going in the wrong direction financially 10 years ago, actually really poorly in the wrong direction, and now it's very well run, and Mr. Book and his team have done an awesome job really focusing on the core mission of the rec and the finances to go along with it, and he deserves to be commended as well as their whole team.
Yep, and Mr. Wigglesworth, I have a whole speech on this, but
Okay.
no, no, it's all good. I just want to say, as a member of, this board and member of the Rec Commission, who I've, hold in the highest regard, and then the Hempfield Rec being on that board and hold them in the highest regard. They do a tremendous job. I was just delighted that this all came together and we could continue our relationship for another 25 years, because I think it's just great for the community and all the residents, and so this one makes me very happy.
Good. Any questions or comments on this from the audience? Yes.
Thank you, everyone. My name is David Lounsbury. I own a business at 2733 Columbia Avenue in East Hempfield Township. I serve on the Rec Commission Board as the treasurer, and I was part of the negotiating team to culminate in a successful lease for both parties. I want to especially thank Bob, Cindy, and Diane for their help. We had a lot of good communication back and forth, and we're very pleased with the outcome. Just thank you, and thank you for your continuing support.
Thank you. Appreciate your service. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay. Is there a motion to authorize a signature on the amended and renewed 25-year lease with Hempfield Area Recreation Commission effective June 30th, 2025?
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, we're going to give this one to Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Appointment of Douglas Rhodes to Recreation Authority for a 5-year term until January 2030.
So the Rec Authority currently has a vacancy left by Doug Brubaker. This would be a full-term appointment. Mr. Rhodes is a former teacher. He's retired, but he has a significant background in sports. Thank you. Just totally left me. I believe it's a recommendation, actually, it is a recommendation of the Recreation Authority that he be appointed.
Any questions or comments on this from the board?
No.
Any questions or comments from the audience on this? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to appoint Douglas Rhodes to a 5-year term until January 30th on the Recreation Authority?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second for Mr. Johnson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Up next, the reduction in number of alternates to the Planning Commission from 3 to 2.
We'd like to table that matter for a future meeting.
Okay.
For further discussion regarding the Planning Commission numbers.
Okay.
You need a motion to table?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Please.
Any problem with tabling it? Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to table the discussion regarding removing the number of alternates to the Planning Commission from 3 to 2?
So moved.
Okay, motion for Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second for Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, up next, the solicitation ordinance. Ms. Switzer.
We had one or two residents inquire about this. The board was very interested in creating a solicitation ordinance. There are quite a few people approaching houses and trying to sell their wares. The chief put together a draft, which you have in your packet. It addresses, and it's very similar to those that are found throughout the county. It does list several exemptions, such as farmers selling their wares or Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, nonprofit types of things. But it does require a permit through the police department, and they would have to fill in an application, and there would be a permit issued so that they could be identified by a police officer or a resident who that they approach could ask for that. So this is just a draft. It would be an authorization to advertise it. So we'd make it into an ordinance and get it advertised.
So the libertarian in me struggled with this, but last year I heard from a number of residents, and it did seem that we did get inundated last year with solicitations. So that's where we are. We did review this in our working group and do recommend it. Open it up to the board for some discussion.
Yeah, the libertarian in me too kind of cringes a little bit at this one, to be honest with you. I do think, just to clarify, because there are people that think this, but someone who goes door to door, either they're campaigning or just knowing their First Amendment rights, that shouldn't be clearly defined, and that's not solicitation either. So there's some perception in there sometimes that is soliciting, and they're not soliciting sales stuff. Anything that as we get into this discussion, I think that should be in there too. Might not like what you hear with the person's door, but they have a right to do it.
So my understanding is that is protected under state law, and there's nothing that we can do that
I'm
would.
just saying we should be make mention of that in this ordinance, just reiterating that, because there is a perception that that's soliciting with some people, and we don't need to have those kind of complaints coming to us after we adopt this ordinance.
Okay.
The libertarian in me sees a typo on here that we need to take care of. This, is it a dollar? On third to last item, is it $1, $100, or $1,000 plus cost?
It's a typo. I'm not sure what it's intended to be.
100. If I don't have it in front of
It's
me. at
the
moment,
ordinance
so-
says, I just pulled it up, the ordinance says 1,000 for each offense.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, so the.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, good catch. Any other comment?
Mr. Wigglesworth,
Yes.
I would just suggest that, and maybe it's already being considered or put into place if this is adopted, but we need to find a way to make sure our residents understand that this is in place and that they can ask for a license to be displayed or shown if someone does come to their door. Otherwise, we'll just be continuing to get the same number of calls we did before, because no one will know that there's an ordinance that addresses that. I don't know, on our website or newsletter or any way that I think the township could get that out. I think it'd be good to get that in front of our residents, just to make them aware that there are some teeth involved in what solicitors are able to do or not do.
We do have a pub ed type plan in place like we've done for many other things. And we did actually save space for it in the spring newsletter should the board decide to move forward with it. So we do have things in place for the police department and the township both to put it out and make it public information.
Perfect. Thank you, Diane.
Yep.
Yeah, and my thought is when I first heard about this last year, it was more negative than positive, because there will be some burden on the office, right, to be handling, requests and things like that. So, so that was a downside. And, but it seemed like there was a lot of interest in the community, and the local communities in our area all have a similar ordinance. We did, I think, try to bring it up to, from when it was written in the 1950s, I jokingly said, to like more current wording. So I think it's slightly improved. So I support it now, recognizing that it is more work for the office people, and it seems like, as I said, there's a lot of interest in the community with it. So I think I support it.
Okay, so from the discussion, I think everyone's in favor of it. If I understand correctly, Mr. Russell, you would like to have something added to it that,
Just based off of having done door to door, I just know that there is a perception that when you're doing some of your First Amendment stuff, that's solicitation, and that is not solicitation. I think we just need to make sure that we have that pretty clear, so that when that time of the season or someone is going around doing a petition or something like that,
okay.
that we don't have people falling back on this ordinance saying that that's solicitation.
Do you have language in mind that we,
I just can't be honest with you. I'm just starting out, since we're talking about advertising it, that we should.
We'll
have
make sure we
something
include
in
it.
there that just
okay,
relates back to the state law, that is a protected right.
Yes, and I agree with that. That was my question too, and Scott informed me it was a state law, but I think that's a good idea because I've knocked on a few doors and I've heard that a few times. I've gotten thrown out of some neighborhoods.
can't believe that. Is there any questions on this from the audience or comments from the audience on this? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carly Abbott. I live at 1400 Banner Drive. I'm just a mom of a Girl Scout, actually. So when you said they would need a permit, do you mean like each individual
Exempt.
brownie would?
No, they're exempt. Yep.
So maybe we should
Read the
just,
list.
yes.
Okay.
Could you?
Sure. So the exemption list is farmers selling their own products, persons soliciting funds or selling goods, wares, or merchandise donated by the owner thereof, where the funds or the proceeds of the sale are to be applied exclusively for a charitable or philanthropic, I can't say that, purpose. Thank you. Representatives of registered charitable organizations, manufacturers or producers of bread and baking products, meat products, or milk products who sell their own products. Insurance and real estate agents and brokers licensed by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Youth selling goods, wares, or merchandise where the funds or proceeds of the sale are to be applied exclusively for a function or organization sponsored. Youth entrepreneurs, such as lemonade stands or similar, and individuals distributing sales, literature, door hangings if there is no attempt to contact the home or business occupant. Those are the exemptions.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize staff to advertise the draft ordinance that you see before you for adoption and consideration with the addition of the political activity exemption as noted by Mr. Miller? I'm sorry, by Mr. Russell, excuse me.
So moved.
Motion for Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second for Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
One question then. So this is authorizing staff to advertise. So
Correct.
it will come back to another meeting with
Yes.
public comment and things like that.
Yes.
Is that true? Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, up next, the 2025 F-550 Public Works Vehicle Lease, First National Bank. You see the lease rate there, 4.98%. Any, pretty
It's a truck that we anticipate getting hopefully by March. It's one we've had ordered for probably 3 years. 2025, it's a larger dump truck. And it's also included in the 2025 budget as a debt service on it.
Any comments or questions from the board on this?
None.
No.
None.
Any comments or questions from the audience on this? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize staff entering into a lease agreement with First National Bank for the purchase of a 2025 F-550 dump truck?
So moved.
Motion-
Can I say something really quick? I'm sorry.
Yes,
It's not,
go ahead.
it's not an F-550. I'm not sure where that came from.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a 25 international dump truck.
Okay,
Oh, my goodness, that is probably wrong. Thank you.
Sorry. Didn't want to intervene there.
thank you. Perry. So let's change that while we're here. Thank you, Perry. Is there a motion to authorize staff entering into a lease agreement with First National Bank for the purchase of a 2025 international dump truck?
So moved.
Okay. We're leasing it.
At the end of the term, we will own it.
So motion by Mr. Russell. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Brubaker. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, board goals for 2025. Any additions? Staff did a good job of summarizing this. Any comments on this?
One very minor one on the public safety. It says no solicitation agreement. And when I read it, I said, what do you mean? We're doing a solicitation agreement. So I just would request that that be reworded. I think it meant, quote, no solicitation agreement. So I'm just asking that it be changed to like an agreement, an ordinance for no solicitation. Very minor, but it could be confusing if someone reads it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's being changed in real time.
Mhm.
So, okay, so that would change any other? Nothing. Mr. Brubaker?
No, I'm good with the additions, changes, updated version.
Okay, any questions or comments from the audience in this? Zoom? Okay. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the 2025 board goals as presented and modified by Mr. Johnson?
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Russell, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Bennett. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Under old business, we have public safety, fire, and EMS services,
The board asked that that be placed on the agenda, which is
just
why
for
it's
the,
there.
that's right, for the continuing discussion about the costs. Anything to add to that from the board?
We just maybe make mention of a little bit of that, just as we have a pretty large audience that I
Sure.
normally have, so.
So what we're trying to highlight is with the inflationary period that we've had over the last 3 to 4 years, the cost of the equipment has essentially almost doubled in price for our capital expenses. And the volunteers numbers have slowly dwindled over the years. And we're to the point where staff is being supplemented to get fire departments out the door and get them to service calls. And we're trying to make the public aware, this is a big financial change for us, and it's an additional expense. We were gifted, and we still are gifted, with those that are willing to volunteer and do the work that they do. It's a huge, and I can't emphasize that enough, huge benefit to the township for those that are willing to volunteer. But we're just making the community aware that as we grow and have developed, that this change is also coming.
And then the other part of the equation is EMS. Maybe Mrs. Garber could.
Sure. So the township is required by the second-class township code to provide emergency medical services, which is the ambulance service that you receive in the response to a 911 call. And we currently have a contract with Lifeline EMS, which is a part of Penn State Health. That contract does expire the middle of next year, and we have been advised by Penn State Lifeline, in accordance with all of the other surrounding townships, that we will incur a per capita or otherwise type of fee moving forward, starting mid-2026. And so this is also something that is a brand-new cost to the township that will have to be absorbed somewhere. There will be a process that we will go through to look at all of the EMS agencies that may be able to provide service to the township and talking with them. But regardless, we expect that the standard moving forward will be that there will be some type of fee assessed to the township to be able to provide that service.
Offset that by not paying, not letting, making them pay more.
Well, the other thing that I'm not gonna, I don't need to talk about that now, but okay, we'll let that pass.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. Any questions or comments on this topic from the audience? Okay. Any from Zoom? Okay. Any new business? Hearing none. There was no traffic commission report. There was no meeting. It was canceled due to lack of agenda items. So we're going to move on to public comment. Is there anyone here tonight with some public comment? Anyone on Zoom? Okay.
Actually, I have some public comment,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Go
Can
ahead.
I get 3 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're on the clock.
Okay. I really think it necessary to comment on national affairs, but tonight I feel a little bit differently. I think it's important to acknowledge the positive changes that are being made in Washington at the federal level of our government. I'd like to take this as an opportunity to acknowledge and publicly thank President Trump, Vice President Vance, their staffs, and the members of their DOGE team for their efforts in auditing the operations and fiscal condition of all aspects of our federal government. It goes without saying this comprehensive reviews, both operationally and fiscally, have been well overdue for a long time and for all departments. During the last 25 years, particularly, Washington bureaucrats in both parties have been taxing, spending, and wasting our money on inappropriate programs at a rate well beyond what is reasonable and prudent. We are financially broke as a country and cannot afford to continue in this spending direction that we have been on. For the sake of our country's future, for the sake of our children's and grandchildren's future, this must end. Additionally, I appreciate President Trump's effort to stem the flow of illegal immigration into our country. We are and should be a country that welcomes immigrants who come here in a legal and appropriate manner. In just the first 30 days of his administration, there has been great progress made in reducing illegal border crossings into our country and the removal of dangerous criminals out of the country. Again, simply amazing that what can be done when you want to follow the Constitution and enforce the laws that are on the books. Finally, I'd ask all our residents in the coming weeks, months, and years to support our president and his staff in their efforts to keep our country great. And I'd also ask that they pray for our country's continued success. Thank you.
In a minute. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Does anyone else on the board have a comment or want to say anything? Okay. Hearing none. Mr. Hughes, could you come to the microphone, please?
I think all the things you said is an outrage against humanity. I cannot believe as an elected physician, you would actually come out and say such things. Nothing he has done in the first 30 days represents humanity or Christianity. Nothing. 1% of the total debt is the most he has eliminated, and all he's done is fired people to rehire them in his own making. You support, obviously, Project 2025, which is stripping the constitutional rights of the people. Why do you think business is moving out of the state of Delaware, where it has always been prime? It's because Texas and Nevada will offer them a jilted judiciary system that is tilted towards businesses and not towards the protection of the people. Mr. Trump has eliminated all the personal protections you have as a consumer. He is trying to invade your personal information in both federal and local dealings, including your own tax forms. He has allowed people with no security clearance to enter totally secured places. I just cannot believe that you, as a human and as a Christian, I think you claim you are, would come up and agree to everything he's done. And he's taken the immigrants that even have legal stance to stay here and has dismissed them. You need, sir, to pay attention to the news and read something, because what he's done has been horrible. He has turned the Russians loose. He has claimed that it was the Ukrainians that started the war. Come on now. I'm ashamed to think of you as a supervisor. Totally ashamed.
Dr. Hughes, we will have decorum and you may speak your mind.
I did.
Keep it under control.
It is.
Okay, do a better job. You
No,
got
it
you got
isn't.
another
I don't
minute.
need to. I can say I'm ashamed of this because I am.
You can, but right now you're on the borderline of being out of order.
Oh, you tried that with me once before. You came up to me after a meeting and said I was being inappropriate when I objected to Penn State. And now you guys are learning about how Penn State is run.
I may make a statement. I think Mr. Bennett has a right to share his public comment opinion, but I really hope this doesn't become an everyday occurrence on the board here. I just like to talk about municipal tasks. When you state your opinion on federal events, you're going to divide the community because it's pretty 50-50-ish as far as I could tell. I just hope we don't do this every week.
Anything else? Okay. Mr. Bennett, again, I'm going to thank you for those comments, and we're going to move on to the manager's report.
I'm going to ask Diane if she could maybe comment on Centerville Road, since they did have the project meeting today, and any updates she has regarding the closure.
Just want to put the words in. No, it's okay. I just didn't have it right in front of me. So I will start with the statement which has been put out by PennDOT in a press release picked up by most of the local news media. It is on all of our social media accounts as well as the township website as a news alert that weather permitting, Centerville Road will be closed from 8 p.m. Friday, March 7th until 6 a.m. Tuesday, March 11th, just south of the bridge spanning Route 30 at Hempland Road and just north of Old Tree Drive, so that Norfolk Southern can complete the reconstruction of the railroad crossing within the new limits required for the Centerville Road widening project. This work includes excavation of the current crossing, temporary relocation of the current gate system, and conduit work for the new signals and gates. The detour that will be in place uses Hempland Road, Donnerville Road, and Route 462. And again, that will be from 8 p.m. Friday, March 7th until 6 a.m. Tuesday, March 11th. It is the expectation of the project that Norfolk Southern should be able to complete their work well within that time span. J.D. Eckman, the prime on the project for PennDOT, also anticipates being able to get a significant amount of work done within the limits of that during that closure. It is expected that should the weather be gross, they'll still continue. It would be if it's well below freezing and there's significant precipitation falling that it would have to be postponed. But the goal is to get it all done on that weekend so that then following that, the roadway can begin to be opened, and as temperatures allow, paving and painting can be completed so that we can begin to see the benefits of the 4-lane roadway from Columbia Avenue up to Marietta.
Ms. Garber, are we gonna, like we had talked about, put some message boards up ahead of time?
Yeah, sorry. Centerville Road project already has electronic message boards built into the project. They will be placed at the upper limit of the closure and the lower limit of the closure at least 7 to 10 business days ahead of time. Additionally, Chief Brubaker has a plan in place for our township message board further north in the project in the township. And we're also working with Manor Township to see if we can get their message board out on their end at the southern end of the corridor so that everyone has the most opportunity to be made aware.
Thank you for addressing that.
So moving on, Route 72 and Lidditz Road, those temporary signals. We did have a mandatory pre-bid meeting on the 19th. There was one bidder present, and that will be moving forward to looking for his award, which I'm not sure when it is, but it will be shortly, and you probably will have that on your agenda in March to approve, and then it should be moving forward for construction. The first thing on the contractors list will be the installation of the poles, so that you'll see those first, and then that will be followed by the additional road work.
I want to just thank the staff for the perseverance it took to get that one through, and Mr. Miller's help and others who helped with getting the grants and the funds that we needed to address this safety issue. As the public may or may not be aware, we had 2 fatalities there last year. And this became one of the top projects in PennDOT, but then it hit the usual minutia that occurs with PennDOT. And glad that we were able to finally push this temporary signal through. And unfortunately, with road projects, when they use the word temporary signal, that usually means they're going to be around for 10 years until you get the permanent fix. So I'm glad we're finally getting this safety issue addressed, and I want to thank all the parties that helped assist with making this one a priority. It was very important to get done.
So the Noldor Park project is moving along. We got a quote from Lobar. It's within our budget to move forward. You'll be seeing in your agenda on the next meeting is a request to move that project from 2026 to 2025. It's a project we're doing in collaboration with the Little Green Corridor Project, Little Conestoga Blue Green Corridor Project. We are now kind of narrowing down on the scope of the project. It's currently scheduled to be a parking lot, playground, pavilion, and stormwater facilities. And it also will be the main trailhead for the Blue Green Corridor, which will go through the Luxwama land. The Church and Knoll Road Park, which is the 50-acre sod farm project. We are currently in discussions and getting plans for a DCNR submittal for a grant to see if we can move that project forward under a grant process. We the Rec Authority had a kickoff meeting for the project to tear down the barn at the golf course and then create a new space for a pro shop. They met with the architect. We saw a draft. It's going to be revised, and we'll continue that process, and we anticipate another meeting in about a week to keep that process moving forward. The auditors have started their process for 2024. We have road work that's being advertised, pre-bid meeting on the 20th. The bids will be open on the 5th, and we hope to award that on the 19th. We talked about the lease. There is a new initiative that I'd like to bring before the board. It's called the Holiday Cheer Event. The manager from Manor Township had gotten the managers from Mountville, ourselves, and West Hempfield Township to see if we would be interested in hosting a light show, a light path that residents would register on a website. They would then, we would put the path for the lights on the website, and then residents or anybody else in the neighborhood could go through there and look at the lights. Lidditz Borough, not by the borough, but they do something in Lidditz area similar to this. It just gives the residents another chance to participate and also to drive around and see the sights and see the lights. We have not finalized the details of this. It's very minimal, if no cost to the township. It's just a service that we're providing to the residents. Just wanted to advise that there was an executive session held after the last meeting from 8:01 to 8:35, the purpose of which was to discuss legal and personnel matter. The public safety group met on the 10th. They discussed the long-range plans for the fire and EMS services, which you heard earlier tonight. We talked about the solicitation ordinance and the hiring request, which is also presented on your agenda. The finance group also met on the 10th and reviewed the year-end numbers from the 2024. And I'm happy to report that most of the budget line items, but most of the budgets, fund budgets, exceeded or, not exceeded, were below what we had projected for the budget. So our cash balances moving forward will probably be better than what we anticipated. And that concludes my report unless there's questions.
I have a couple of add-tos, if it's okay. The Knoll Dorwart Park Vegetation Team met, the team being Laxwana, East Hempfield Township, and the Blue Green Corridor to discuss improvements in the path area over in the Knoll Dorwart Park. We met on the 17th. And then on the 13th, there was a meeting with the residents and representatives of Getz's Woods and the Water Authority concerning security arrangements in the Getz's Woods area, what they're going to look like. And, you know, the residents have some issues and we're trying to address them appropriately. And I'm sure we can work something out. Okay.
Anything else?
I apologize, but I do have one good for the order. We do have the LCATS spring meeting coming up with seeing Representative Miller in the audience. The topic we're going to be discussing is stormwater because DEP has completely radically changed their MS4 requirements again. And the way we've been doing MS4 with our current permit is going to go out the window, and we're going to have a whole new process for MS4 going forward. A very complicated process, so we're going to be discussing that at the LCATS meeting. And it's going to be an information session for all the municipalities, and we're going to have a couple of the Clean Water Partners and a couple others there, as well as Commissioner DiAgostino and a couple others that are going to be talking about stormwater related issues. But we're going away from sediment as the grade for MS4, and we're now going into stormwater volume and flow rates. So it's going to be a whole new process, and the credits that we would have gotten from our previous projects and pushed forward into the next permit cycle are no longer there, which is another broken promise by DEP, unfortunately. So we're going to have a lot to talk about like I've advised municipalities in the past, that don't ever try and get ahead of DEP with stormwater because they will change the rules on you at any given time, and you'll find out that you have nothing to account for. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of municipalities are going to find out that we're trying to bank credits going into their next permit cycle, that those credits are pretty much going to be worthless at this point. So it's going to be a lot to talk about. This is a major rewrite of the MS4 policies going forward, and it's going to, in some ways, simplify things, but like I said, it broke a lot of promises that were made to the municipalities over the last 4 or 5 years.
Which translates to unfunded mandate.
Not well beyond just unfunded mandate. It's translates to the fact that you cannot plan any further than, do not plan work any further than what the permit you're in. You cannot try and anticipate or get ahead of DEP or even listen to promises where they say, if you do some work now and you get ahead, we'll credit to the next permit cycle, because that's not a true statement.
All right. Well, on that positive note, anything else? All right.
Thanks.
All right. Well, then we will adjourn our meeting at 8:47 PM. Thank you.